Hi, my sweeties. So today, Mama Radha had a rough morning. um, I kind of forgot my place. Basically, the world is crazy and the market's crazy and this and that and companies acting stupid and I just got in over my head and I started to worry about trying to figure things out. And because my husband's so sweet and so kind, and very often he'll ask me my opinion about things, and I appreciate that, and he'll ask me advice, but of course he makes the final decision. But I took it too far where it was disturbing my peace, and I was like, I was all upset and I was like fussy. I wasn't really fussy, but I was crying. I was upset, and I felt overwhelmed, and I felt like I had to, figure this all out, and the burden, I felt on my shoulders, which I'm not supposed to do. So, so my husband's like, "What is the matter?" And I'm like, "Oh, blah 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 and blah 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 blah," about the situation. And his blood pressure went up, and he was just like, "Listen here." And I was like, "Don't yell at me." And he wasn't. He was just like, "My blood pressure is up because this is something that you're not supposed to be worried about. I talked to you about these things, but it's not for you to worry about them." Basically it was like, "Don't you worry your pretty little head." That's not what he said, but that's kind of what I was getting. And so he's like, "I can't talk calm like this right now because my blood pressure is up here." And I was like, "Okay." So, he was just telling me, it's like, "Listen, this is X, Y, and Z, and it's just a matter of fact, and nobody cares if it's fair, if you like it, and nobody gives a F." And I was like, "Okay." And he's like, "We have talked about a million times, no matter what happens in the market, no matter what happens, whatever, we are happy together, whether we're, in a mansion or whether we're in a trailer, whether we live on the beach, it doesn't matter." And I'm like, "Yes, that's true. As long as we're together, I don't care." And he's like, "Okay then. So don't worry about all this stuff. This is for me to worry about. And now that I see that it's disturbing you, I'm going to leave you out of it, and I'll let you know as it goes along if there's something you need to know." And I was like, "Okay." So I felt bad because he was getting ready for work, and and I just, sometimes I get overwhelmed with these emotions and I don't know what to do with them. And and bless his heart, because to him, in his mind, it makes complete illogical sense. And me, I'm like, "But my brain doesn't work like yours, and I don't understand. I don't understand what this means, And I'm pretty knowledgeable, I'm pretty intelligent. I've studied a lot of things for a long time, but there's still certain things that I don't get, that my brain processes differently, that I see things differently, and I get scared or I get upset, And I'm a woman." He goes, "Wow, men and women's brains really work differently." And I'm like, "Yes, Daddy." So, and then I was going to go downstairs to finish getting his stuff ready. And he's like, "Come here," and he made sure he gave me a hug. And he's like, "It's going to be fine." And I was like, "Okay, Daddy." So, it just reminded me that we really, as women, have to stay in our lane, stay in our role, stay in our place. As soon as we, and I think there's a scripture in the Bible about that once we're freaking out, it's like you've taken on more than you're supposed to bear. And that means those are burdens that God didn't put on you. So anywho, it's good to be their support. It's good to have an understanding of what's going on, but just remember, that's not your job. Your job is to do your role at the house, do everything you need to do. And whatever it is, it is. This world is completely unpredictable, and you can plan and you can do the best that you can, and things can still not work out quite right. But if your man knows that you're there for him, no matter what, you guys are going to make it. And it doesn't matter. We've been poor, we've had nothing, and we've had a lot. So it's just the way of the world. It's just the way that it is. Of course, we have kids that we want to make sure that they have the best that they can have to be prepared for life. But sometimes having too much can cheat your children from the responsibilities and the learning of the struggle, because you learn a lot through the struggle. Me and my husband were talking about how we were so much more mature at 14, 15, 16, 17 years old than our kids, because we had to work, you know, and we told our kids, we don't want you to have to work through school. We want you to focus on sports and in your education, you know. So it was like, but they were really, really good. We got into more trouble than they did, you know. But we were also more mature than they were. So it was like a trade-off, you know. But I was like, oh, it's okay. You know, it's all good. And they grew up to be good people. You know, they're still growing, obviously. 18 and in their 20s, 18, 19 and in their early 20s. So it's a blessing. It's a blessing. And it was just a good reminder. Okay, Radha, you're putting yourself in a position that you're not supposed to be in. Let daddy handle it. Let him do his thing. You just be the support and try to be positive, you know. I guess because the world has been so crazy, the market's been so insane, that I was like, I'm leaning more towards being a realist. Like, okay, well, we got to prepare for the worst. And we should be prepared for the worst. But at the same time, he needs us. Our men need us to be that, you know, hopeful, optimistic, cheerful, love life, happy woman, you know, because that gives them hope. They need that hope. He does not want to see me miserable. He does not. He's like, you have a very good life. And I was like, yes, Daddy, I know that for sure. No question. You know, I worship the ground you walk on. I'm so grateful for you in the life that I have. And I've told you guys before that the majority of the burdens that I feel, because I take on this whole burden of the world and how are we going to fix things? How are we going to save our country? How are we going to save the family? And we're such a mess, you know, and all this kind of stuff. And it is really over my head, but I'm in it already. So I just do the best that I can. But balance is something that I have to continue to always work on because I'm an extreme person. I'm like in or I'm out, you know. So anyway, guys, I'm going to go get my stuff done, but I just figured I'd share that and stay in your lane, stay in your place, let Daddy do his thing, be his love and support, but be optimistic, be positive, and just know that, you know, being with the ones that you love, wherever you are, is the most important thing. Amen. All right. Bye, guys. Ciao.